Yo, what is up? Welcome back, or welcome either way. Thank you so much for making it this far. Had I watched this video prior to buying this e-bike, I probably would not have purchased an e-bike. It's not about the brand. It's not about the bike. It's not about the fact that it's a super light. It's not about the travel. It's not about the color. It's not about the motor. It's not about the terrible thoughts that other mountain bikers surely think when you climb past them on your e-bike. So what is it about? Well, let's jump on the bike and talk about it. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of buying an e-bike. E-bikes are great for a lot of different reasons and for a lot of different use cases. How you doing, sir? Just gonna come up around. You're good, it's just me coming through. Thank you. Have a good hike. I'm not gonna assume that everybody's use case is the same as mine, but I don't think mine is crazy, and I feel like this is information I should share. Again, not to talk anybody out of buying an e-bike, but to offer a different perspective so you can be a more informed buyer. Because let's face it, they're expensive. Not everybody can rent one or try one out. Also, I did not rush to make this video. I've had my e-bike for almost a year now, and I wanted to really make sure that I was used to it. I put it through its paces. I gave it its fair chance because I recognize that it takes time to get used to things. And sometimes things feel bad before they feel really, really good. Hey guys. Hi. So why did I buy an e-bike? Well, I spend a lot of time in the car, driving to jump trails and, bike parky type stuff that's just open to the public. For the majority of people, that type of thing is not in your backyard. For me specifically, it's at least an hour and a half away. So there in the car is a time commitment. For me, it's roughly 3 hours there and back to simply cycle through jump trails. All sorts of doggies out today. I love it. Oh, somebody's having fun, I can tell. So I started to do the math, and the math wasn't looking good, So me, it was 3 hours in the car, and then I tried to do another 3 hours of riding to make it worth it. And in that riding, more than half of it is climbing just to, cycle the jump trails. So then I started to think, what could I do to make it a little bit of a better experience, to get more jumping in and less time climbing. Hey guys.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Just me coming through as far as I know. I'll scare the bears away for you, but that's my experience. So essentially, I picked up an e-bike to speed up those climbs, so I didn't spend so much time just climbing back to ride the trails that I came to ride. So I would never ride an e-bike to ride cross-country type trails. And for those that do, no knock against you. That's completely cool. I never judge, never will judge. Hey, how you doing? Here's the thing, when I first jumped on this e-bike specifically, this is all I can talk to. This is my only experience on an e-bike. I was blown away at how nimble it felt for its weight. Yes, I felt the weight, but it still felt nimble. And that was a pleasant surprise. So on this type of thing right here, this basic single track like cross-country style riding, it doesn't feel heavy, it feels nimble, I can move it around. It doesn't feel cumbersome. And that's great, except I didn't really buy it for this purpose. I would more than happily ride this stuff on a mountain bike. Yo. Hot dang, it's beautiful out. I like to really take time before I form opinions, especially when it's based on negativity or a possibility of negative feedback. I'm not gonna rush to make conclusions until I'm confident in what I'm about to say. And the past year I've really been trying to fall in love with this bike. Not this bike, just e-bikes in general, on jump trails. So a lot of the jump trails in our area are small to medium jump trails, which I think is pretty common. You got to get into bike parks and stuff before you get the bigger jumps typically. when I did my research on e-bikes, and specifically referencing other individuals and their feedback, individuals that like to jump similar to me. And their main feedback, and consistent feedback, was that e-bikes offer stability in the air. And I thought, that can't be a bad thing, right? I mean, stability in the air is always a good thing. And then my e-bikes are absolutely jumpable, is what I found in my research. And that's all absolutely true. I love all the folks that are building jump trails. I can't appreciate these jumps and tell you how much I appreciate them enough. So let's look at the type of jumps that I frequently have access to outside of a bike park. So we're talking like small to small, medium-sized jumps. Super fun, you can do stuff off of them, and they're readily accessible to me in the region where I ride. Now remember how I said earlier that I didn't really recognize the weight of the e-bike. Now my e-bike I think is like 46 pounds or something, so it's not super heavy in the world of e-bikes because it's an SL. But on your typical terrain where you're pumping and popping, I did not feel the weight. Where I do feel the weight is on these little jumps that I bought it to ride. Specifically, I feel the weight when I'm coming off the transition, through the air, and when I'm landing. I love to pop jumps, and because of that I feel like I have, strong froggy type legs and I can pop it still. And that is true, I can pop it, but here's the issue. That weight at normal trail speed pushes me through the jump. If I pop it at normal trail speed, I go deep and I land flat. You're probably saying, idiot, don't pop it then. So let's take this to caveman communications and let me see if I can illustrate it for you. Here's the jump. Pretty good looking tabletop, right? You would like to hit that, I would too. Most people want to go from here, we'll call that point A, to point B, okay? And they're cool with however they get from point A to point B. If they catch air and they don't case this, then that qualifies them as a good jump, and that's cool. I don't judge that, and I think that's super sweet. However, for me, while this will always be point A, this becomes point C because I have a point B. My point B is up here. So rather than push through the jump and go from A to B, I want to go from A, B to C. That right there is why I love jumping bikes. I love maximizing airtime in arc, even on smaller jumps. What that point B represents to me is things that I can't achieve in my own life on my 2 feet, right? I get that 0G floating experience. I can do tricks. I can manipulate the bike in the air. And that is why I jump. I don't jump to just check off the jump. I cleared it, done. I jump for all that stuff that happens in between point A and point C. Now let's come into this at trail speed. Now the added weight's not going to increase my speed all that much. And I blasted right through the arc. Now let's try to pop it at trail speed. I went way deep right there. And that to me was not fun. Okay, I didn't have a point B to get jiggy with it, to stanky leg, to wally whoop this, or whatever you want to call it. So let's slow down maybe. Maybe the answer is to slow down. Drag the brakes a little bit so we're not completely reaching trail speed, but that'll encourage me to pop, to boost, hit that point B before I get to C, so I can do all those tweakings in the air. There we go. We can clear this at this speed, and we're gonna pop. And we popped, and I felt every bit of that weight, okay? I'm dragging my brakes so I don't overshoot it. Popped. Okay, we're hitting point B, dragging brakes, popped. Popped. There we go. So we went slower than trail speed and I popped it, I boosted it. And I did hit point B before I got to point C. I felt an arc. Did it feel good? It didn't feel good. I really had to boost the weight of the bike to get to point B. And in all that effort, it really makes what I want to do in the air more challenging and more rushed. This bike is set up to be very poppy and progressive, so it's got nothing to do with the travel. It's got everything to do with the added weight. Now here's the other thing, okay, so it is more stable in the air. That weight allows you to get away with more than you could on a lighter bike for sure. But my problem with that is this: once you get better at jumping, no matter what stage you're at in your jump journey right now, if you stick with it, you will get to a point where you don't need that stability. And actually that stability is not your friend. What that stability does is it kind of holds you back. You know, sometimes you want to come off jumps off balance and unbalanced. You know, I'm really working for these. And that is so fun when you know what you're doing, okay? That feeling of instability and turning that into flow in the air or flow on the trail. That feeling is super cool. And that is another reason why I love jumping bikes, because I go from a point of what would look completely uncertain scientifically to a point of absolute control. So Shirley, sorry, I didn't mean to call you Shirley. This is better than fighting on those climbs because I'm getting more laps in, right? And the climb is quicker and more efficient. Let's go back down to the dirt. All right, let's clear the board. So this represents my ride experience, okay? And this deviation mark right here is the point where I get to the trailhead and I jump. We'll call this jump, J for jump, J for Josh. We'll call this C for climb. Okay, so that was my traditional experience right there. All this bit was kind of unfun, right? It was just a commitment, a time commitment to get to this little bit right here. With the e-bike, here's what's changed. The climb became a less significant part of my overall experience, right? But here's what I was not aware of. This climb was more fun. But the jump section, all of this portion here, is way less fun now that I have an e-bike. It doesn't offer me the same experience that I get on my enduro bike. So my more fun bar became smaller, doing something I don't enjoy doing, and my less fun bar became longer, doing what I came to do. So here's the thing though, if I could ride big bike park lofty giant jumps, the weight wouldn't be a problem. The stability I could push through because I'd have the time to manipulate the weight in the air, but those jumps come with a chairlift, at least in my region. Over the past year, I've really been trying to find reasons to ride this bike, and I bring it out, and I kind of wish in every instance that I had just brought, you know, my regular enduro bike. I think the experience would have been better. The climbs would have been longer, the laps would have been fewer, but the overall experience would have been better. So what's the answer for my use case? Well, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe if it's not an e-bike, it's a lighter trail bike, you know, with XC type of tires, a super light bike that can pedal super efficiently, but also is light in the air and will jump super well. Maybe it's a hardtail, maybe it's not even a full suspension bike. If you're in the same camp or a similar camp as me, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. As I ride back up to ride another lap on a flowy jump trail, I am excited about the fact that this climb will be quicker and easier than it would be on a mountain bike. I'm in the Power Ranger green setting right now. Let's go to Power Ranger orange, and I'm blasting off. This is gonna be easy work. What I'm not excited about though is when I get there and I start riding that jump flow trail, the experience just isn't going to be as fun as it could have been. Yeah, whenever you get a chance, man. I don't want to break up your flow. You're good. Thank you, dude. Just me coming through as far as I know.